You are looking at the Mecca. Once again, the Octagon touches down in Midtown. The only stage fit for the GOAT. Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic collide. UFC 309. We're getting you ready, starting now.
Knock me down, I don't feel pain.
Today, I'm here, stronger than ever before.
A dark shadow here to stay.
There's always something perfect, no matter what fight it is. There's always something perfect.
Come dawn, I'll stand another day.
Todo mundo sabe, quero se tornar campeão de novo.
Watch me rise and break these chains.
When is my last chance at a second chance?
Ready to fight, here to lead.
This is the most iconic arena in all of combat sports.
Every single year, it just seems special.
Annual November showcase for world-class UFC talent.
I'm a bad dude who should not be messed with.
He got greatest of all. He's finished the best of the best.
The most championship wins in the history of this
He
organization.
is the GOAT.
Against Stipe Miocic, the most decorated heavyweight champion in UFC history.
We've just seen domination.
Surprise, surprise!
Two of the most exciting men to ever fight in the lightweight division.
Chandler's in middle trouble. This is a gigantic moment.
Oh, it sure is, and we're happy to have you with us. Counting down 1 hour from now when UFC 309 finally begins. And of course, at night's end, Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight championship. Chael Sonnen's here. Paul Felder's here as well. Teddy Atlas will join us. We'll hear from some of the voices of the UFC, including Jon Anik, Dean Thomas, and Daniel Cormier in just a few minutes. First of all, Chael, happy Fight Day. What an occasion it is.
Thank you very much. I'm attempting to control my energy, guys. I'm high. I got to tell you, I get like a kid on the holidays. I love Fight Day. Now you got the heavyweight championship. The most pivotal UFC of the year is going down right now. The storylines of 2025, particularly for the heavyweight class, do not exist without tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an incredible matchup here between Stipe and Jon. You know, two GOATs. You talk about the greatest of all time in the heavyweight division versus the greatest of all time, period, in Jon Jones. But really, that co-main event is what I'm really looking forward to as a former lightweight, to see Chandler and Oliveira go back at it. We heard it, you know, they were rehearsing Oliveira's music earlier, and me and Brendan would already get into the vibes of that fight. It's going to be incredible.
And they have 5 rounds with which to work, just like they did several years ago when they fought with a lightweight title at stake. And, of course, it ended in the second round with Charles Oliveira getting the belt from a vacant belt there over Michael Chandler. And that'll be our co-main event tonight. And then, of course, it all leads to Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. We going to D.C. now in just a few minutes? All right, a few minutes, we're going to hear from Daniel Cormier. He's spent almost an hour and a half inside that octagon with both of these guys when you add it all up. Of course, his trilogy with Stipe and his rivalry with Jon Jones over the years. What are you so excited about? We had to wait an extra year. This was supposed to go down last November. What are you so excited about now that it's finally here?
There is no way Daniel Cormier is in place. I know that, gentlemen, because he has called me 3 times and sent a text. I'm going, you know, if you were in place, you would know to not be calling that we're working together. All right. Now as to what you said, I got to tell you, Dana White has only built a fight this way. Look at DC. The big bear overheard me. Dana White only built one fight this way one time. I remember what happened. Hard Rock. It was a Wednesday night, and Dana White brings Matt Hughes in the ring, and he says the greatest welterweight of all time versus, and they throw to this closed door, and the door opens, and Dana White says the greatest fighter of all time, and out walks Hoist Gracie. And I only bring that to you because that's what we've got. To Paul's point earlier, we got the greatest of all time taking on the greatest heavyweight of all time. Is heavyweight class really king? We're going to find out in a few hours.
We sure will, Paul. What are you looking forward to in this main event as an overarching theme?
Well, I mean, both these guys have had pretty long layoffs, right? And we've only seen a very, very small sample size of what Jon Jones looked like at heavyweight. To me, there are a million questions to still be answered about how he's going to look, how are you going to come back after that bicep tear, right? How are you going to come back after a layoff? How are you going to really look against one of the best to ever do it at heavyweight in Stipe? And Stipe, I'm telling you, I like the vibe from him right now, man. He seems quiet but pissed off that people are definitely looking past him. There's a lot of talk right now about Tom Aspinall, Jones, Alex Pereira, who's next, what's this? I think the man's being just slightly overlooked. And when you overlook somebody like Stipe Miocic, he goes in there and he shuts up the crowd.
During all this conversation and lead up to the fight as to who's next for Jon Jones, Stipe Miocic has been next. He has not had that fight yet. Stipe and Jones tonight. Daniel Cormier, as mentioned, you fought a lot with both of these gentlemen. DC, you are one of 3 men in the UFC history that have fought and won a light heavyweight and a heavyweight championship. Of course, Jones and the other being Randy Couture. What are you looking forward to in this fight?
Man, everything. This fight has absolutely everything. Like Paul said, how does Jon Jones look after that time away? Stipe Miocic hasn't fought for 3.5 years. But if you listen to these guys, they have both done everything right to build and get to tonight. And also, I love stakes. Tonight, the stakes are high because the heavyweight championship's on the line. I mean, we're fighting in Madison Square Garden, and you get to answer questions like who's the greatest at something. Anytime you make it a question of what's great, who's the greatest, it matters. And tonight, we find out if Stipe Miocic is the greatest heavyweight of all time, possibly one of the best fighters of all time, and does Jon cement himself again as the GOAT?
DC, when this fight starts, what will you look forward to early to try to tell the story of what might happen and how it may go?
Listen, early in the fight, we need to pay attention to Stipe Miocic. Is he pressing forward? Is he going forward or is he staying back? Is he able to get inside the kick range early? How much damage does he take early? And does Stipe Miocic, which I think would be a very, very smart game plan, get close and start to wear on Jon Jones with his size? If he doesn't do that, he will not see the benefits of that approach later in the fight. But if he gets forward, if he starts to press Jones early, maybe push him against the octagon and hang on him, it will be something that gives Jon problems. But we also need to see how early does Jon Jones get started. The one thing I always saw in the fight when we fought each other, it wasn't a feeling out process. It was always, referee says go, Jon and I would start to fight because that's what Jon Jones does. He fights.
What surprised you about Stipe during your trilogy with him, and really in the first and the second one? What surprised you about him that fight fans should look for, may not know about, may be underestimating? That means he's got a real chance in this fight tonight.
Speed. Stipe Miocic, guys, sorry. For the record, we're going with Miocic. That's his name. We need to stop disrespecting the champion. Stipe Miocic is much faster than people give him credit for. His hands are fast. He's got great boxing, and his movements are relatively fast for a big guy. And you don't see Jon in there very often with people that match his size. Stipe's size can give Jones problems, but I know that Jones needs to anticipate him being faster than he may have thought because Miocic is very fast in the octagon.
All right, East Coast pay-per-view. It starts a little bit later, so I got to know this, DC, and then we'll let you go. How'd you hit him today? Saw you walking through the lobby with some golf clubs.
Yeah. You saw me? So I played horrible today. Let me tell you one thing, man. Today we were playing greens that were running at 14. The only person that could play that course and be effective is the guy in attendance tonight, President Trump. Now, that's a good golfer.
Hey.
Let me tell you something. President Trump's a good golfer. I'm trying to be like him.
Excellent, DC. You have more energy at this time of the day than you usually do, and that speaks to how big UFC 309 is. Can't wait, DC. Enjoy it.
I've been chasing pigeons the whole time. See those pigeons back there? I'm about to go chase them right now. I hate pigeons.
DC, go get dressed. Have some fun tonight. Can't wait to see it unfold. Thanks for the few minutes. We're going to continue to dive into this main event. ESPNplus.com/PPV. Lock in the order now. Rochester, New York's own Jon Bones Jones, the consensus greatest mixed martial artist of all time. In theory, that is a status he puts on the line every time he competes. To this point, his run of greatness has left a trail of legends in his wake, and as he returns to the proving ground tonight, he has a chance to add another Hall of Fame scout to his ledger.
The future, Johnny Bones.
Yeah, let him know.
23, he's gonna hold on title for 20 years.
I'm just enjoying this ride, and it's only the beginning of magical things.
Jon Jones is the youngest champion in UFC history.
This is going to test who I really am. Will I continue to be modest? Will I continue to be humble?
a lot of questions will be answered about me. And I want to do it right.
I feel like I'm just getting started. That's the thing. You're at the end.
Am I at the end?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
is that?
Because I said so.
He's out. It is all over. Wow. Jon Jones.
There's human beings that have a different temperament and a ruthless competitive drive that's almost terrifying to the ordinary person. That's Jon Jones.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I said I would kill you.
You could never kill me.
Oh, I bet you I could.
We're looking at the most unique talent in the history of sport. No one's ever been able to dominate like that.
So what is that like being Jon? Thinking there isn't another man on the planet that could do anything to you in hand-to-hand combat.
You have a responsibility of greatness.
Jon Jones has done a lot of things to himself.
Jon Bones Jones was arrested.
He tested positive for cocaine.
Jones is charged in a felony hit-and-run incident.
Stripped of his title, thrown in jail for a probation violation.
We have suspended him indefinitely.
He's made some mistakes. I want to see Jon learn from this.
I spent a lot of time in darkness, and it got really dark. And spent a lot of time being depressed. And to be back here and to have so much light and the cheers, it was a dream come true.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I've learned a lot outside of Jon Bones Jones. Who's Jonathan Dwight Jones? I got to see how people treat me when I'm not in the limelight, when I'm not training for a fight, when my reputation is not the best. And the result of that is a greater appreciation for what this sport means, what this belt means, what it means to be in my position, to be talked about, to be hated, to be cared about ultimately. It's a blessing. To be the best ever is not meant to be easy. I kind of let go of always trying to please people and be what everybody else wants me to be.
Jon is like a genuinely sensitive, intelligent guy who's trying to do the right thing, but he's a fucking conqueror.
Jon Jones is back!
This is what I do. High pressure moments, cards stacked against me, people not liking me. None of that matters right now.
Jon Jones has regained the throne!
Wow!
I literally was raised in these arenas. I'm here to do what I was born to do.
Jon Jones! The greatest of all time!
I consider myself one of the nicest people. I'm a very generous person. But at the end of the day, it's a cold world. The strong survive, and I'm just grateful to be one of the strong ones.
It has not always been a smooth road, but it has been a compelling one to watch unfold since his UFC debut when he was just 21 years old. He had 6 pro fights under his belt. Shortly after that, he became the youngest UFC champion in history at 23. And to do so in that 205 weight class says something. How do you describe the athlete in its entirety and the story that is Jon Jones?
I will tell you this. If you're ever studying for a fight for Jon Jones, and I've had to be in that spot, you go break down 5 Jon fights, you got your trainer with you in your little notepad. One thing that you will see is he will do 5 things at the very beginning of the fight that he has never done in any previous contest. He is a guy that is dynamic, but he also grows. He loves to get the oohs and the ahs. I remember he's fighting Glover Teixeira, and he takes his arm there standing up. You don't submit somebody with an armbar when you're standing up. He ripped Glover's bicep, and this was the first few seconds of the fight. If you start a fist fight, you start it with a punch. Jon Jones will come across the ring and kick you in the mouth right off the bat. I mean, he will do things that aren't done. Joe Rogan has the hardest job of the night trying to explain to the audience what he just did because he breaks out a new move. Now, if I can just tell you, when Jon fights, we have seen him never overwhelmed anywhere. He'll fight a great wrestler, Jon will go out and take him down. He'll fight a great kickboxer, he'll keep him on his feet and touch him up. And I'm just bringing that to you as it does believe to be a consensus amongst the boys in the locker room that Stipe is the superior boxer. And I'm just sharing for you, what if he's not? Because we don't truly know how great Jon is. Jon only shows his greatness when he really gets challenged. And I bring that to you. I feel like this fight has so many more things on it. It's not just about the outcome, the belt, and the greatest. That's kind of how it's being billed. But I think we're all curious curious, Paul. Can he outbox him? Can he get to Stipe's body? How incredible would that be? Like Shogun-esque. If he got to Stipe's body, I just feel like there's a lot more things to look at in this fight. And after 25 minutes or less, we'll get a winner. But until then, there's a lot of things to enjoy.
Yeah, and in close really is where I think a lot of that is going to take place. You talk about his boxing, but really it's Jon Jones and his elbows in close. And that's where, like DC said, he's got to kind of close that distance. He's not a super long guy. Even though he's 6'4", they're about the same height. John's probably got a nice reach advantage, right? And he fights so long and uses those elbows, uses that clinch. Who's going to really try to bully against the fence? Is it going to be Stipe? Is it Jon that wants to fight there? Does he want to try to get the takedowns? We talked about it in the pre-show to try to get to the neck. He's working with a lot of great grapplers in this. We don't know what the game plan is going to be, and that's why this fight, I think, is so intriguing. We don't really know in which way these guys are going to approach it because they can fight it pretty much anywhere.
And we know that Jon fits the bill as a heavyweight in terms of the physicality of it based on what he showed against Cyril Gane. What did we learn about him, though, at heavyweight? That fight didn't last long enough to really know what we might see in his heavyweight run should it continue tonight and into the future.
And I could give you my opinion of the relevance to yesterday's weigh-in, but how about I give you Jon's instead? Weight matters to Jon Jones. Most of us did not believe that Jon needed to take a single week off, let alone 3 years off, to put on size to go and have success at heavyweight. We thought he could just walk right in there, but he didn't. He sees an advantage to size, and he's never fought somebody that is meaningfully bigger, not to mention the right way, right? Like, not all pounds come the same. The way Stipe looks, that matters to Jon. How much? What will his approach be? How does that change him? Those are questions we don't have because he's never been faced with that. But I love your point. We don't know a lot about him at heavyweight. Even the takedown he had on Surreal, that wasn't well set up and documented. It kind of went down and landed in that spot. So Stipe's not going to do that. Stipe is an ultimate competitor. I think we need to make sure we remember who we're talking about here. He's going to bring his tools tonight, and he's going to bring 15 pounds of muscle, Paul.
Yeah, and he's coming angry and strong, I think. I know he's really been hiding it well, but he wants to go out there. If this is his last one, he certainly wants to go out there on top with that belt again. And if not, if he goes out there and wins, I don't know. We might see him again. He seems like the guy, if he gets a win over a guy like Jon Jones, does anybody really walk away from this one if they get that win? It's easy to say that before the fight. When you get that gold strapped around your waist and those bills start flying your way, people can be convinced to stick around.
Well, he is one of 9 two-division champions in UFC history, and it really is compelling to see how he approaches this one because Stipe brings a whole different skill set than Cyril Gane played or brought to the table. And Stipe is so credentialed as a heavyweight, more so than any other fighter in UFC history. He's not intimidated by the moment that he'll have tonight.
Daniel Cormier's fought them both, and he's fought them both 5 times combined. Anthony Smith fought Jon Jones and trained at least 30 times sparring with Stipe. So I went to these guys, said, hey, what did you feel? And they both believe that this is a lot closer contest than the audience breaks it down. So then I broke the question down. I said, all right, boxing, who wins? They said, without question, Stipe. I said, kickboxing, who wins? They said, that's the big problem. A controlling of range in the kicks by Jon Jones is very to deal with for a heavyweight. That's just not something that Stipe's had to have in the arsenal. He's had to add that for this specific opponent. And then I said, what about the wrestling? If he gets Stipe down, do you believe he can keep him there? The answer was no amongst them. They said, I don't think he can get him down easy, but if he does, Stipe will get up to his feet. And Paul, it made me think, kind of close my eyes and think, I've never seen Stipe in guard. And it's not that I haven't seen him taken down. He does scramble to get back up. He doesn't go to guard and start playing this defensive game. That's interesting. If we have a pure stand-up battle and the two guys that are common opponents say one realm of that battle, the hands, is going to be won by Stipe, the other realm of that battle by Jones, we got a real close fight.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is the approach that Jon took with his training partners and the coaches that he brought in, especially for jiu-jitsu side of things, because maybe he's aware he won't be able to get him there and hold him, but it's in those scrambles, it's in those transitions that Jon may be looking to try to capture Stipe there, grab a hold of a neck, get to the back. Maybe he allows him to get back up, go around, use defense to try to get around to the back, or get him down just for a second. He may know that it's not going to be an easy task to just put Stipe down on his butt, hold him there, and ground and pound. But we don't know. I mean, like we talked about, we haven't really seen Jon face a heavyweight over any extended period of time. He got Cyril Gane out of there so fast. Maybe he can. A lot of these guys, everyone's saying he can't. I'll bet you Jon likes that challenge. I bet you Jon would hear that and go, oh, you don't think I can hold him down and beat him up? I think we're going to find out.
There's a lot of fight fans out there, of course, that are hoping that Jon Jones fights the interim champion of the heavyweight division right now in Tom Aspinall. As such, he's a big betting favorite tonight against Stipe Miocic. You could argue, though, there might not be more pressure on Jon than ever before tonight because he's so expected to get it done. And in dominant fashion, a lot of pressure on him tonight in this spot.
I love that you brought that up. I appreciate it. If I can see your point, I would like to raise you a Sugar Sean O'Malley. In Sean O'Malley's last contest, he's trying to deal with Merab, but Nurmagomedov is sitting right there. There's no way it pulls your attention, even if it's ever so slight. But Sean wasn't able to just focus on this. He wasn't to maybe call out a Figueiredo. It was already set up, and I only bring that as Jon Jones is in that same spot, and he does not like it, guys. He does not like it to the point that he'd rather take it on the chin by telling the audience, I will never fight Tom. But all Jon means when he says that is I'm staying solely focused. I got tunnel vision on what's in front of me. While you, the audience, has me as a big favorite and thinks this is a easy match for me, I don't. And I'm going to zero in to the point that I will have everyone mad and tell me I'm not even going to fight the interim champion. But that's what Jon is really doing. And psychologically, I respect it. Not to mention, Jon, to go into a fight, has to be angry. How do you get mad at Stipe Miocic? Do you have any idea? How are we saying Miocic, by the way? What did Daniel tell us? Miocic. I feel tomato on that. Oh, so it's Miocic. Hey, I got to tell you this. Jon found a way to get upset with him. And he's even said Stipe talked about his kids. I got to tell you.
They did shake hands, though.
Yeah, they
did shake hands at the ceremonial.
But I just got to tell you, Stipe did not speak about his kids. Whatever Jon got, wherever he got it, it's for his own headspace. He's not crazy. He knows what he needs to go into a fight. Jon Jones right now is where he needs to be mentally, and that's a big part of his game.
Well, one thing about that, he's talking about not wanting to fight Aspinall, and if that's the reason that he's so focused, then why is he bringing up Alex Pereira? I mean, that is also thinking into the future. That is thinking past Stipe Miocic. So I don't know if he's playing games. Jon's a smart character, man. He knows how to set things up. He knows how to get intrigue and stuff. So I'm still on the side of things where I'm like, is he just trolling us all? Is he doing a lot of this to just get more hype behind the Aspinall fight? I don't know.
Brendan, can I just tell you a quick story because you weren't there for it? So Paul and I were in a room yesterday. In walks Tom Aspinall and his father. His father starts asking, hey, how likely do you think it is Tom's going to fight tomorrow? And he brings up the example of Ben Ige that was only a couple hours' notice because he wanted to know if he could take his son down and get him a pint. Now, not too many pints, but could I take him a pint? We're out in New York, and it's like, I'm the wrong guy to ask, but I think you might not, because of the Dan Ige example. Like, you may never want to get that pint until after this contest is over. I just thought the mere fact that is what was on these guys' minds. It's about 2 hours after they weighed in. I just thought it was a funny story. You might want to
You need to get a beer.
Aspinall as the backup fighter weighing in. He's official. If anything were to go down, that fight would happen. I'll tell you what, one of the fight week moments that will stand out and will probably be remembered is the crowd reaction to Dana saying whoever wins should fight Tom Aspinall.
I mean, there's
the
buzz there, man.
Is looking for it.
They want it. They want it. I mean, that's a massive fight. Who doesn't want to see that? We all want to see that. I know, and like Chael talked about, I get where Jon's like, look, I got this to deal with. I can't be thinking too much about all these other matchups. He's thinking things could be fun, but I'm telling you, we're overlooking Stipe just a touch.
Agreed. That was my point as well. Maybe I didn't say it as clear. I fully agree with you.
What is the X factor of Jon Jones? What is the aura that he brings to a fight? He's not particularly outspoken on social media in any particular way. He's just Jon Jones, and everybody tunes in when he fights.
No, I agree with you. Colby Covington used to live with him. And I didn't live with Jon, but I came close to it. We did The Ultimate Fighter together. We spent all day and into the evening hours together. And Colby used to talk about it. He was a great roommate. I really liked him. Unless he got upset, you couldn't control him. And I'll just tell you, I have seen that. An upset Jon Jones is a whole other story. How is he going to get upset at a fireman? Stipe Miocic is a superhero character. Like, if there was a magic wand and I could take for my son that someday he grows up and turns into Stipe, I'd take that deal right now. I mean, this guy he's beyond reproach, as they say. Jon found a way. Jon is furious with him. He's decided he's called him the B word, which culturally is very bad. He spoke about his children. That's not culturally. That's bad for everybody. Listen. Jon got himself to where he needs to be. I'm just bringing that to your attention. Stipe is going to have the best version of this young man that anybody's faced.
Well, Jones is back in the octagon for the first time since March of 2023 when he won that heavyweight title over Cyril Gane. The voice of the UFC octagon side tonight, of course, will be Jon Anik, and he joins us from downstairs now as he gets ready for UFC 309. Jon, I just asked Chael this. What is it about Jon Jones? You've seen his rise in the UFC over more than a decade. What is the X factor? What is the it factor that Jones has that other fighters don't?
Well, it sounds simplistic to talk about one thing when it comes to this Jon Jones package in totality, but I would probably point to the heart and the will and the determination and the willingness to dig deep, even if maybe he's been doing recreational drugs instead of training 2 weeks before a major fight.
Thank you.
That, I think, is in part as to what sets Jon Jones apart. Skill for skill, I think he's the best mixed martial arts athlete I've ever seen, but I do believe that Stipe Miocic is the real tested and tried heavyweight, and I think he deserves a little bit better than plus 500 next to his name.
I remember talking to Jon at UFC 217. It was the first time you called an event here at Madison Square Garden for the UFC back in 2017. What is it about this arena, this building, that brings out these fights? How would you describe what this setting does for the events?
You know, Fitzy, I'm trying to promote a live event, but I am from Boston, Massachusetts, USA. I got my Celtics backpack. I'm wearing a green suit. No, this is the Mecca. It is not lost on me, the pageantry, the nostalgia in this building. It is very special for all of us as broadcasters, as commentators, to be able to call live combat sporting events in here. And certainly UFC 217 was particularly special. But you can't take the Boston out of me, Fitzy. You know that.
Hey, Jon, as one of you, I remember thinking as a kid, the real garden's a bit to the northeast, the Boston Garden, of course.
Right.
Why did they copy us and call it Madison Square Garden? Then you grow up and you're like, okay, it's been around a bit longer. Not too much longer, but hey, Jon, have a great call tonight. Epic event as always, and we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you, Fitzy.
All right. Jon's going to get ready and go call some fights. Let's remind you who Stipe Miocic is, because here's the reality. There's a lot of fight fans that have kind of joined this UFC world in the last 3 or so years. He last fought in March of 2021. Makes his UFC debut way back in 2011. He racked up a few wins, hit his stride in 2014. He ultimately earned a title shot against Fabricio Verdum. He stepped into enemy territory as the betting underdog like he is tonight. He overcame those odds to knock out Verdum in just under 3 minutes to become the UFC heavyweight champ. He made 3 successful title defenses before, of course, his trilogy started against Daniel Cormier. He would face him 3 times over the next 3 years. DC won the first one by knockout, but Miocic would win the rematch in Anaheim in 2019, and then by decision in Las Vegas. DC offered the ultimate breakdown on how Stipe can pull the upset in the Big Apple tonight.
So going into the second fight with Miocic, I recognized that he had made some changes mentally, but strategically. Him and his team had done some things that would make him much tougher to deal with as the fight went on. But ultimately, this is what Stipe did. And this was on Stipe, right? You could train something, but it's on the athlete to implement it and make it work in the time that it's supposed to work. Stipe recognized that I lift my hands to try to gauge range. So then he changes to body shots, but that didn't happen until the 3rd or 4th round. He recognized that I was leaving the body open when I would throw my jab or whenever I would get close. And then right there, he lands that next one, body shot low. My hands drop a little bit, and he goes 1-2 up top. This is being a Golden Gloves level boxer. This is Stipe Miocic recognizing that he had me hurt to the body, because regardless of what you show as a poker face, you can't hide when something lands and it's effective. He hit that body shot, boom. Then he goes 1-2 up top, switching the target. Against Jon Jones, if he does not switch the target, if he is going down one path to victory, it will not work. He has got to give him a lot of information to process, and he needs to learn on the fly. From round 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, Stipe has got to continue to evolve and adjust if he wants to become the heavyweight champion again. That was a great example of him adjusting on the fly, and that's why he's the greatest heavyweight of all time.
All right, great look there. You can watch that on ESPN Plus, but you really don't have time to, because we're taking you just about up to the first fight, and then UFC 309 is off and running. Teddy Atlas joins the desk. Teddy, how does this big fight day find you, my friend?
It finds me good. I'm with good people. How can it not find me good? I'm with just good people and people that actually know what they're talking about. Isn't that a novel idea?
It's a great time to be alive, isn't it, Teddy? And it's a great building to be in for a big fight. How do you describe Madison Square Garden as a setting for what we're about to watch tonight?
Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, fight of the century. There's only one fight of the century. You know, I know nowadays we like to reinvent things and add things and put asterisks with things and, you know, put a little bit of, you know, no, there's no and. There's one fight of the century, and it happened in one place, here, Madison Square Garden, Ali Frazier. And there's some similarities in this heavyweight fight. And I'll tell you how I find them. I mean, Ali was coming back from an imposed 3.5-year layoff. You know, because he didn't go into the Army. 3.5 years. Miocic, if I checked right, about 3.5 years, a little more than 3.5 years since he's been in the ring. You know, that he's coming back. And there's one thing that I would add to what I just saw from the great DC, and he is great. And all of you guys are, because, again, you know what you're talking about. You're on the button with stuff. I'd add one thing, legs, Miocic, and I'm not talking about kicking. This headset is kicking me right now. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, yeah, he's a good striker, right? That may be his best shot, whatever. And he goes to the body, does all. But he needs his legs. He needs his legs to be able to not stand in front of Jones. Even though Jones, his forte may be, you guys are better than me, maybe on the floor, maybe on the mat. But as Chael said it so eloquently, so pointedly and accurately, he winds up matching you in any way that he needs to. He learns on the fly. He's Jimi Hendrix. He invents a new note that you never heard. He's what's his name? The great trumpet player, Louis Armstrong. All of a sudden, he hits a key that I never heard that key before. That's his own genius. So he needs legs, though, for the striking, because if he stands in front of Jones, at the end of the day, to his point, to both their points, he will find a way. So he's got to be able to give angles. He's got to be able to get in and out. Yeah, he can strike, but then he'll get struck back. He's got to be able to move. He's got one problem, the same problem Ali had. The legs go with time. When you've been away, the legs start to go. Your brain might say, hey, legs, move. But it's like a Richard Pryor, comedy act. My legs are going, and they didn't go. Get me out of here. Legs, save me. Get me out of here. So at the end of the day, to me, I'm looking at the legs. Can he box? If he can't box, and when we say box, for me, a boxing lifer, that means one thing. Use your legs and your striking. That's what it means. If he can't do that, then he's got a problem. And again, 42 years old, the one thing Ali was great at, floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. He couldn't float like a butterfly in that fight in this magnificent theater, the fight of the century. He couldn't do that. He still had the character. He still could punch. He could still behave like a champion. And that's why it was a great, iconic fight. But he couldn't float like a butterfly. I think Miocic has to float. I don't know if he ever floated like a butterfly, but at least like a moth.
Right. He'll take whatever he can get in terms of keeping the fight where he wants to. If he has the edge in boxing, technically speaking, like so many suggest, what's your pick in the fight, ultimately? Jones versus Miocic. Who do you think wins tonight?
You don't go against the GOAT. It's kind of hard to go against the GOAT. Even this boxing primate with this royalty here understands that because again, he's got, what his greatest asset is for me, for Jones. We could talk about so many things, but I'm going to talk about the same thing that in my boxing there's one heavyweight champ. His name is Usyk. He's from the Ukraine. And you know what his greatest asset is? He's not the biggest guy. He's not the hardest puncher. He's not the fastest guy. He's technically sound in all areas, just like Jones is. But you know what his greatest quality is? Same thing that Jones is. He finds a way to win. That's his greatest quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's certain guys in this world, in our business and all business, that is their greatest quality. They find a way to win. Bang. The GOAT.
The GOAT, Teddy Atlas, on the desk with the take. Thank you very much, Teddy. Great pick. to your point, 27-1 with a no contest. The one, of course, was the 12-6 elbows, which are now legal. So that controversial ending to the Jon Jones only loss is now opened up for discussion, and perhaps that's turned to a no contest, and he gets that 0 back in his loss column. That's to be determined. Also, we're looking forward tonight, as Paul alluded to at the top of the show, is the co-main event, special 5-round edition, and it's a rematch between Charles Oliveira, the former lightweight champ, and Michael Chandler. Chandler last fought 2 years ago here at Madison Square Garden, but we're looking back on their title fight from years ago, and what a fight it was.
The lightweight title is vacant. It will not be in 25 minutes. All-American wrestler Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira, maybe the most intimidating submission artist.
Savagery versus finesse.
Oh! Left hands from Chandler.
It's real.
Standing ovation as round 2 gets underway. Knocked out for Oliveira. Chandler is down. Charles Oliveira.
How did you change that fast? That's the game we play.
Charles Oliveira stole my dream.
We're going to run this one back eventually.
What a fight it will be tonight, and what a fight it was. It was kind of like this crazy roller coaster. You got to the top, you plunged into chaos. Before you knew it, it was over, and you knew you wanted more. And we had to wait a few years to get it, but it's on hand here tonight. What do you look for between Oliveira and Chandler as they rematch?
There is such a discrepancy in this fight. You want to talk about having big fights, you can put the belt out there. You can put #1 contenderships out there. But ultimately, for a big fight, one guy's got to be able to raise, and the other guy has to fall. That's the sad part, but that's what makes it. These two men on your screen could fight for world championships at any time, and nobody in this industry would complain. However, one of them wakes up tomorrow, and that conversation never takes place again, and that is just the truth. One of these two men will never even be in the dialogue to fight for a world title. And speaking of #1 contenderships, while Dana White did not confirm that, Chandler and Oliveira both said that was their understanding. And last night, about 3 in the morning, New York time, Islam Makhachev put out a tweet confirming, I will be giving an opportunity to whoever comes out of this contest. This is the one that I'm watching. That doesn't make it official, I'm aware, but generally in this sport, when you get both sides to agree, you do have a fight. There's a lot riding on this.
And the pound-for-pound #1, as Islam is right now, according to the rankings, has a say in it, you'd think as well. Paul, go ahead on this co-main.
I mean, Islam also has to keep his eyes focused, similar to Jon Jones, has to keep his eyes on the prize that is coming up for him in January. But this fight, I know we got a fantastic heavyweight bout between two of the best to ever do it of all time, but my God, do I love this matchup. We saw it once, and it was absolute chaos. If you thought it was crazy that first time around, I can guarantee you that Charles Oliveira wants it to continue to be that chaotic. Michael Chandler says that he's going to be a little more dialed in. He's going to be a little bit more precise and more strategic. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've heard that one before, Michael Chandler. That crowd's going to get going during that fight, and you're going to resort back to being crazy. If he can just be slightly more dialed in, I think that he's got a chance to finish him early in this fight, and I think it's important for Michael Chandler to do damage early on in this fight. Charlie Olives has shown that he has that heart, that so many people doubt it for a long time. He's got so many chances and so many ways to win with his jiu-jitsu and his striking now. Chandler's got to go out there and be a buzzsaw early, and then I think, Chael, maybe dial it in, be more focused. You don't get him out of there in the first round, then you start going, okay, settle it in. We're in for a roller coaster.
Both of these fighters understand the assignment, and that's why fight fans love them. They know they're there to give a show, and that's exactly what they do every single time out. Dean Thomas is down low. He'll have a headset on as our coach, Octagon side. And Dean, what do you think of this co-main event? As Paul said, Chandler says he's going to dial it back, but we all know that's easier said than done when it's time to fight.
No, I think this co-main event is a perfect fight for a co-main event. I love the matchup. It's obviously a rematch, but it's a chance for Michael Chandler to show what he's actually made of. Since he's been in the UFC, I feel as though he's underperformed, and I know he's a better fighter than what he's actually showed. I think Michael Chandler goes out there. I know Paul Felder doesn't have a lot of faith in him dialing it back, but I think he goes out there, fights a much more smarter fight, and actually implores some wrestling in the match as well. So I think Michael Chandler goes out there and fights a smarter fight.
Well, Dean, as a coach, how do you try to like change the approach of a fighter that is known as a go, go, go type of fighter like Chandler is?
Well, you got to understand where that comes from. He came to the UFC and wanted to be an exciting fighter. That's what his motivation was. Now his motivation is to win. And you can't win. He's already established that being a go, go, go type fighter is not his winning formula. He's got to go out there, fight intelligent, use all of his skill set, which includes some wrestling and big punches and good fast boxing in the pocket, and go out there and use that.
Charles Oliveira, most finishes in UFC history, most submissions in UFC history. You're a 4th-degree black belt, Dean. Tell us, what makes Oliveira's jiu-jitsu so lethal and so different? Everybody's got good jiu-jitsu in the UFC. His is different. Why?
His is different because of his lineage. If you go back to where his jiu-jitsu originated from, the Macaco style of jiu-jitsu, Macaco is his jiu-jitsu coach. It's always been a very aggressive style of jiu-jitsu. It's not a lay on your back and wait to get stood up. It's attack, attack, attack. And they've incorporated elbows from his back, and as soon as you give him a little bit of space, he's either going to try to get up or throw up a triangle or an armbar. He's got a very aggressive style of jiu-jitsu, and that's one thing that Michael Chandler has to try to take advantage of. If he can get Charles Oliveira down and slow him down off of his back, it will discourage Charles Oliveira from using that aggressive style of jiu-jitsu, and that might be the key to him winning tonight.
Dean, can we acknowledge your bucket? Looks awesome. What is that up top there, buddy?
Well, listen, I got the bucket hat. I'm in New York City. I had to pay homage to LL in the bucket hat and the baby blue because, you know, I also got to cover up the gray because I'm getting older, and the baby blue make me look younger. So I had to go ahead and do my thing tonight.
Looking great as always, Dean. Sometimes as an ascot, usually it's neck down that you're surprising us with your wardrobe, but I like it up top, man. Sweet lid. Enjoy the fights tonight, Dean.
All right, guys. I appreciate you guys.
All right, awesome. Dean keeps you guessing with the wardrobe all the time in the best way possible.
I'm so glad you asked him about it. By the way,
you have to acknowledge
you can't
it.
let it slide, and you called it a lid. I also like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bucket, lid.
Yeah.
It's all, it gives me street cred when I walk around. Like I'm hip on the streets.
I was
never going to have street cred.
I'm definitely not going to have
But, Paul, I was wondering, we started that
Fitzgerald
shot, I
has
think, well,
street
maybe no one told him we were going live. So, I really am glad that,
You know,
I got feeling
always ready to go live.
I got to go to Paul on your former division with Oliveira and Chandler. With Oliveira, let's start there. You beat him back in 2017.
Yes, he did.
What did you notice in the evolution of Oliveira as he really blossomed into a lightweight contender, and then all of a sudden he's calling for big fights, and then he's winning them, and then he's the champion?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very much along with what Dean said was that he is so aggressive with his jiu-jitsu and with everything that sometimes when he wouldn't get it, in particular my fight, he had a Darce locked up on me that was in. Like I was gurgling, but I got out of it. And once I got out of it, he kind of broke a little bit. He spent all of his energy trying to finish that. And we saw that a lot from him early on. And I think he started to really develop his strength and conditioning, which ultimately boosted his heart, right? I mean, anytime you've got the gas to go out there and fight longer, it boosts that ability to be durable. We saw that from him, and I also think he just kept pushing the striking. He really dived in deep on just making his Muay Thai more dangerous, being a long, lean lightweight like that, and I also think him accepting that he is a 155er. For a long time, in particular when I was matching up with him, he was still talking to the UFC, oh, I want to go back down to 145, I want to go down to 45. Once he really established I'm a 155er, fill out in this weight class, and polish things up, he started to become so damn dangerous.
I remember in Sao Paulo 2019, he knocked out Jared Gordon. He was on a nice little win streak at that point. He called for Conor McGregor, and a lot of fight fans outside of Brazil were kind of giving an eye roll like, hey, man, you're not ready for those big fights yet. Turns out, well, he kind of like lapped him and became the champion ultimately. On the Chandler side, 2 years ago, he fought here in Madison Square Garden. That was his last fight. Of course, he was on The Ultimate Fighter opposite Conor McGregor. That was a fight that was long anticipated, has not yet come to fruition. For context, the last time he fought was when Alex Pereira beat Israel Adesanya the first time in MMA to win that middleweight championship. A lot's happened since then.
In baseball, they will talk about it and they will call it slowing down the game. But in all sports, we try to do this. As fighters, Brendan, it might surprise you, but we're in the first round thinking about the third round. We get to the fourth round and our mind is telling us what happened in the second round. It's very hard to stay in those moments. And I only bring this to you as That's exactly what Chandler has worked on as he was getting ready for Conor McGregor, but that is exactly what he worked on with his coaches. He's got 3 things he's going to do. He has made a deal with himself. I'm going to go do these 3 things. If that gets me a good result, fine. If it doesn't, that's fine too, but I'm committed to these 3 things. And I just tell you, that's called slowing it down. Paul was talking earlier in their initial fight. Chandler could have won that fight. Not only could have the referee stepped in and broke it, the referee actually did us a little bit of a flinch. I mean, the referee made his mind and then pulled back, or Chandler would have been world champion, and Chandler would be the one that, reversed roles and had finished Charles Oliveira. It turned out both of these guys could beat each other, and that's what we're going to see again. We have 2 guys who can both win the fight, but one of them is going to be more disciplined. And Michael Chandler, whether he can execute or not, at least is smart enough to know that's what he's going to need to do. He's committed to doing it.
What's the layoff factor for Chandler in your eyes, Paul?
I really think it's not going to hurt him that, man. This guy's a super exciting fighter. He's got a ton of experience in his MMA career so far, and I think actually slowing himself down a little bit, having time to really think about what he wants in his career, where he wants to go, having that Conor McGregor fight right in front of him and then go away, I think really was disappointing. But now I think he's like, okay, that'll come if it's going to come, but now I'm focused on winning. He wants to fight Islam. He wants to get a shot again at becoming the champion, which means he's going to be more disciplined, more focused. I think it's upside for Chandler having that layoff, honestly.
Let's pick the fight. Paul, I'll start with you. Who do you think wins the co-main tonight?
Listen, I want to say this first of all. I have a lot of love for Charles Oliveira, but I just think that Michael Chandler came so damn close that first time. If he does come out more polished, I think he gets it done. I got to go with Michael Chandler on this one. Sorry, Charles.
I'm taking Michael Chandler. I think the layoff helped him, and I'll just remind people, it's not like other layoffs. Chandler went through a total of 3 training camps, 2 for McGregor, and now this one. So it's not as though, and he might be the most disciplined guy in the sport. I should probably give Chandler a little credit for that, too. I like Michael Chandler, but I do know those 3 things, and I know he's got to stay disciplined because you extend yourself at any point, Charles Oliveira will choke you or he will knock you out.
Of course, we'll get to the main event predictions, but there is one GOAT in MMA. If you forgot, here's a reminder.
Before I even started the sport, I had a vision to go down as one of the greatest fighters of all time.
So I guess people want to know about me. Here we go.
Jon Jones is the youngest champion in UFC history. Jon Jones, dominant once again.
No one dominated everyone. Jon Jones is not willing to lose.
In the zone, Jon. You get in the zone. I've been through a lot to get to this point. I'm still here.
I would like to be remembered as a champion who did everything in the sport, who came, saw, and conquered.
I'm champion! He is the GOAT!
My destiny is to be the greatest martial artist of all time.
15 title fight wins, the most in UFC history. That's Jon Jones. Of course, Stipe Miocic, 6 title fight wins in the heavyweight division alone. That's the most in UFC history. And this is just the 2nd title fight in UFC history where each side is dealing with a layoff of more than 500 days. March of 2021, last time we saw Stipe Miocic against Francis Ngannou. And Jon Jones, of course, hasn't fought since early 2023. It's time for our favorite Snapchat filters based on your main event predictions. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight crown. Who wins, Chael?
And new. I think Stipe Miocic is going to become the world champion tonight. I think he's probably going to vacate the belt. The great storyline that I think a lot of people are missing is Tom Aspinall loses his title tonight.
Oh.
He does not remain champion in the presence of the champion. So the moment that bell rings, Tom belt come off him, even though I don't know that anybody's told him that. That's a hard way to lose by 2 other guys fighting, but I do like Stipe in the fight. The only way to beat Stipe I've ever seen in my life is to turn his lights out. I don't believe Jon has that power.
He's no stranger to going into the fire, is Stipe Miocic. He's going into that tonight. Nice headgear there. Paul, your turn for a prediction.
Yeah, you're wrong. You're just wrong on this one. I mean, I agree with a lot of things you're saying, but just like Teddy Allett was saying, he finds a way. The man has found a way his entire career. I think that this fight is no different. Yeah. I love Stipe as well, but I just think Jon Jones does find a way no matter how the fight's going. He has done it time and time again. He'll find a way to win, and he will remain the heavyweight champion, and I hope he sticks around afterwards.
Paul, you should get your makeup done like that just for the show in its entirety. That's
like my
really
Halloween costume.
Right. UFC 309 is here, Chael. Isn't it a grand occasion? ESPNplus.com/PPV. The broadcast starts in a little over 10 minutes. We're going to sign off in about a minute. But, I mean, it's Madison Square Garden. It's GOAT versus GOAT. It's Jon Jones' return. It's Stipe's return. And a great co-headliner and a lot of fun prospects on the way up. What else can you say?
Oh, it's so pivotal. I mean, all the storylines happen tonight. I will start with the fact that Aspinall loses his belt tonight. Does Jon Jones pick it up? Does Stipe take it, retire, and vacate it? I mean, what kind of conversation are we having tomorrow? Go to find out in this pay-per-view.
There's a lot of conversations to be had in the future.
I think the MMA media is going to be a whole lot of fun come Monday morning when we talk about this card.
Tri-State royalty as well. Chris Weidman's in action tonight. Jim Miller, the ageless one, is in action tonight. And we will join you during the broadcast on ESPN Plus and across all networks. And, of course, we'll be right back here for the post-show at MSG after it all unfolds. The Mecca set to host UFC 309 for Chael Sonnen, Paul Felder, Teddy Atlas. I'm Brendan Fitzgerald. Enjoy the fights tonight. We'll see you after.